I I was
Thank you for
up.
calling Autel Robotics. You've reached us outside our normal business hours. You may reach us 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific Time.
Okay, totally forgot they're on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. My name is Rusty Nelson, and I got a copy of the Autel Evo, the 2 update, the one that's got the smart orbit in it, and I was going to go out and fly it, but I figured I had a few questions I'd call them beforehand, but I'll wait a little bit and see whether I can get in touch with them. Let's watch a quote of the day, and if not, let's just go out and fly this sucker together and find out what it's all about. Right after quote of the day.
Can't get enough of this. Being with you is like never-ending sunshine. Feels like everything stops for a while when we look into each other's eyes. How could I ever let you go now when you're looking like that?
Okay, turn that down. So, I just got off the phone with Autel. Nice long conversation with one of the guys on there, David. He was a lot of help, and I've said this before, their customer service is absolutely awesome. The problem is the guys that I probably needed to talk to further with a bunch of questions I had about the new beta app was with the engineer and stuff, and those guys weren't in yet, so they're going to give me a call back. But he said, go ahead and go out. And I told him I was doing this video. Go ahead and go out and shoot it. So one of the new things that's on the new app, or was new on the new firmware, the update, was they were going to have this thing called Smart Orbit. The thing was, you couldn't initiate it until the new app update comes, which hadn't come yet. So I got a hold of one of the beta versions of the app, and that's what I'm going to go out and test right now. So we're going to test the orbit function of that smart orbit, and I really don't have any idea exactly. We're here at my test area. I don't have any idea exactly what is a smart orbit, but we're going to find out together. So let's jump out of the car and I'll get the camera set up and we'll give it a try. Oh, one more thing too. If you watch the last video I had and I asked them about this, I'll put a link to it up above here if you want to watch it. The update to 2.3.3, when I was doing that manual update, you can see on the screen along the bottom of the app, it says to update the firmware to 2.3.0, and I asked them about that, and he told me that sometimes the iPhone itself will store in its cache some things that don't make it recognize the app correctly. So he suggested that I delete the cache for the app. Now on the iPhone, how I did that, I looked it up and it said to reboot the iPhone. That's about it. That's about what you can do, and hopefully that will do it. Other things said to delete the app and reload the app. I wasn't going to go through that. But anyway, let's jump out of the car and see what happens with this smart orbit. I can't wait. It should be kind of fun. We'll go through the regular orbit too and check out some things on that. Let's do it.
All right, stop the tape. I got something to tell you. I kind of made a boo-boo, but this is what happened. I get out to the location, and now remember I got 4 cameras going. I got a GoPro running, I got the iPhone running, I got an SLR running, and I've got the Evo that I've got to turn on. So I go out to start the app, and I get everything up and running. All 4 cameras are running. Up in the air it goes, and I turn on the app and turn on Smart Orbit and start doing the orbit. Now, I know you're all here just to see me run my Evo into the ground, which I did, and it's not that thrilling. But I do all that, and I think, oh, this is great. I come back here, and naturally everything starts beeping. And I come back here and realize that the app, when you turn on Smart Orbit and start it, it automatically stops recording if the drone is recording at the time. So it's something to remember. You need to re-trigger it right back here. So I do have coverage of what I was doing with the app and the SLR and the GoPro of things that happen. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's really cool because this sucker flies in this orbit, and I hope, Autel, if you're listening, don't change this because I absolutely love this, that it will fly, and you're going to see this flying about a foot off the ground and doing a circle around an object, which is really cool. And I'll say ahead of time that you can actually fly it with this app, with the sticks, while it's still orbiting and tracking the target. So good points and bad points to this. Let's go ahead and jump into it. I'll show you what's supposedly included in there's a little card that I got that tells what to test, but I'm just testing the orbit, but I'll show you all the new stuff on the beta. It's kind of cool. It's some good stuff, and they're really working hard at this. So let's jump onto here, and I'll show you what's on the app real quick, and then I'll show you. Oh, and then after I did that, so I went back and re-recorded with the Evo at a different location, and kind of did. I didn't practice it, but just like a real quick how you may use this app or the Smart Orbit to make some kind of cinematic shot and then track a person afterwards. So let's go ahead and jump in and do it. All right, so here we go. This is the little card I was talking about, what to test. New features that the Evo 2 uses added in. We'll go through each one of these that I can show you actually on the app. Some of them I can't, but anyway, let's just go ahead and I'll show you on the app. Here is the warning that it talks about, the new pre-flight security check. Hitting next, this is what you will see, and I just have the drone sitting there in my gallery here. Jump down to the voiceover and assistant area, so you have those two switches, voice assistant and voiceover. The other is the ISO mode manual. Go to the flight control and then down to advanced settings. And under EXP, you now have 3 settings: throttle up, rotate right, forward right, backward left. Then go ahead and jump over to sensitivity, and now there's 3 areas: the attitude, brake, and yaw movement controls. So you can set those how you like. Kind of exciting. And this is where Smart Orbit lives, right there. And speaking of Smart Orbit, let's go ahead and get to it.
We're going to turn on Smart Orbit and see what happens. Here goes. Going to turn on Smart Orbit.
Now you have to realize at this point in time, I had no idea what was going to happen.
Here's the bench. Increase the altitude a little bit. Go to Smart Orbit, and it's telling me to draw a circle around this. So here we go. It looks like it's acquired the bench, and I'm going to go ahead and hit start and see what happens. There's start, and I'm going to take the, you can probably see this, but so it is hovering.
So remember, at this point, I'm learning about this along with you. And what I'm realizing is Smart Orbit allows you to highlight that target, say the bench, and then it will start its orbit and keep the camera on that subject. Somebody's calling. Anyway, you can raise the altitude, lower the altitude, and you can pull it back, and it will keep the camera right on the subject. So that's a really good feature, because you're going to see when we hit the second location I was at, you can do some pretty fun stuff with it without worrying about where the camera is. It kind of makes it smooth. But now what you're going to see is where I'm trying terrain avoidance. And what I'm figuring out is there is no avoidance down below this. It's not on. But it does stop when I bring it around and go to hit an object. But first, let's take a look at how low you can actually fly. And what we used to say in the Air Force, you can only tie somebody for who can fly the lowest, because the ground's going to get in the way. Let's take a look. Okay, so take note here. The recording is on, so I'm actually recording, and this is where I ran into the problem. So go up to where it said manual flight, hit smart orbit, and then it'll tell you, just like here, draw a square around the target, which I did right here. Now, if you look over there, the recording button is no longer on there. So what you need to do is you need to go back and hit the recording button on the RC unit, the remote control unit. So go ahead and hit start, and when you do, it does this little jerk thing and it acquires the target. Now all of a sudden you can see you have choices down below. 2 miles an hour, clockwise, 30 feet, 26 feet. If it was me, I would much rather have those choices up before I actually hit start, so it'll start where that is, but it automatically starts. Now, once again, this is beta, so hopefully they'll go ahead and tweak that a little bit, but also look at the right and notice that it is not recording anymore. So you would have to re-trigger recording, either by hitting the RC record or the record now on here. Now, if you notice, I went from 2 miles an hour, and we're at 4 miles an hour right now, and I'm using the slider rather than the sticks. And you can see it picking up speed. Now to change the height, you do the same thing. You just use the slider and it automatically will jump up to whatever you have it set to. Here I think 50 feet or something like that, 49 feet. And that's about it. That's the basics of it. Now, let's go fly low. So right here, I literally brought it down to a foot and noticed that there's no obstacle avoidance on the bottom.
It's literally about a foot off the ground, 10 inches off the ground, and it's still flying along, and it just stopped there. I'm not sure whether it stopped because of, I'm going to try to get it to acquire again. Start. And it always jerks right at the beginning, so I have a feeling it stopped because of this gazebo or whatever we want to call it. I'm going to let it fly again, and it's literally staying hovering. Right now it's about 2 feet. And I'm going to try some altitude stuff here in a second, but I'll tell you what, I don't think it's sensing down below it, but what it catches on is it sees the ground off to the left and right. And I'll tell you what, it's about 8 inches off the ground right now. And it's about 6 inches off the ground. And
well, that was fun, and luckily, from my testing in the Air Force, take things in little increments while you're taking tests of things that are flying around. One more thing, I went over to another location once I found out that the video hadn't recorded from the drone itself, and that's what we're going to jump in real quick right now and look at that.
I'm going to try to use my truck as a target in the orbit. Remember now, I've already tried this a few times, so we're going to get to go try this again. Okay, so right now I'm up flying, I'm in manual, and I'm recording. So I'm going to go to Smart
Stop recording.
So what it did was it stopped recording every time I go into orbit. And what I need to do is, there's no recording button anymore. So you need to go to the button right here to start recording.
Start recording.
That's the problem. All right, so what we're going to do is choose the target. I outlined the truck. Now I'm just going to hit start. And that's it. The object of this is that no matter how high or low I am, the camera is going to stay focused on the truck. And that's what it's doing. So I'm going to move the unit back right now. And I lowered the altitude by using the stick, the joystick. Now I'm going up in altitude by using the joystick. And that's it. One thing, if I remind myself, is that the iPhone gets so hot doing this that it dims itself down, so it's very hard to see in here. So right now it's doing a great job. Now I'm going to bring the altitude down with the stick, and we'll see if it picks up this tree as an object to avoid. So it looks like it's doing a really good job of maintaining a visual on the truck. It stopped. It didn't go over the tree, but it did stop before it hit the tree. So there is avoidance there. I just don't think the avoidance is below it. So what I decided to do is give it a try and see how this could help you in a shot. It seemed to work really well. The great thing is, listen, Autel, do not make it so that you put avoidance sensors on the bottom of this. Let people fly it in the ground as far as I'm concerned, because this makes a really nice shot. As you can see, I can get really low with this. In fact, if you're hearing me, Autel, make it so that we can turn the individual sensors on and off so we can control that. But anyway, this might be a type of shot where you take of, who knows, a wedding couple standing on the beach or whatever, and you can bring it right down and keep control of the drone, speed, altitude, direction. You see I changed the direction right here with the sticks. And like I said, this is the first time doing this. I'm so low right now, kicking up a little dust. And go ahead and go in and track me. And it's still in orbit, smart orbit. That is a great addition, a great arsenal of this smart orbit, I think, and it'll be great once they tweak it a little bit. The main part about that, what it's doing is tracking a certain object, so you don't have to worry about keeping the camera focused or trained on that object while you're flying. It takes care of everything. As you saw on the last shot that I did, that was all done with the sticks. I changed directions, changed speed, changed altitude, all by using the sticks, and it was the first time I'd ever really tried that. And then when I finally got to the altitude, changed a low altitude, kicked up some dust, and tracked me the other way. And it was pretty easy. If you tried it a few times, I'm sure you get really good at it. Autel, please, here's my request.
Make it so you can turn individual sensors on and off. You have a little bit more control of that. It would be great. But I sure hope they don't put any avoidance down on the bottom, or I'm just going to keep using the beta app. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I am off to go storm chasing in the Midwest, guide some folks there for about 10 days and look for some tornadoes and some cool shots. I wish I was taking my drone with me, but unfortunately I can't. Thank you so much for joining me. Subscribe, follow the little guy down below, and remember, my camera is my best excuse for adventure. I hope it becomes a great adventure for you, and I've kind of added the camera and the drone to this. Talk to you later.